Hey y'all, it's Troy-Nicole, and today I have the first video in my new college series where I give you guys advice on college, on roommates, tell you some stories about school, and just college all the way around. But first, you guys actually voted on Instagram that you guys wanted to hear some things that my roommates have said and done behind my back when they thought I wasn't home. Now, a few of these things were kind of to my face, but we'll get to that. But I added a couple that were behind my back and then a couple that were to my face. So I'm going to start off with the parents of my roommates. Yes, I said parents. I've met quite a few parents, quite a few siblings of my roommates, which isn't terrible. It's kind of normal for parents to want to see who their child is staying with and, you know, feel them out and stuff like that. I won't be saying anyone's names in these. I will just be calling them A, B, C, and D. Okay? So if you hear A couple of times, or if you hear C a couple of times, then you know they were probably the most annoying roommate I ever had. I will say I didn't have any bad roommates. I don't think any of my roommates were typically terrible. They weren't things that I needed to like get an RA for, or that I felt like my security was in danger. At least not. Okay, one time I did worry about my security, but we'll get to that in another video because that involves roommates in another typical sense. But for the most part, they're all pretty okay, you know, just little annoyances here and there, but nothing too crazy. But I got a few things that were either microaggressive or just in my face, kind of racist. But I will say that a lot of the racist parts of it came from parents rather than students. So let's just get into it. So I will be giving each of my roommates a letter. These letters don't really mean anything. I'm just giving them a letter, A through whatever. So I had, how many roommates have I had? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've had 6 roommates, and that sounds like a lot for the time I was in college, but actually a lot of my roommates were younger than me, and they tended to want to change rooms to be with their friends, which is understandable because I did that at one point. So I would have like a roommate one semester and another one a different semester because I kind of stayed in my same room. I did travel a little bit through the dorms, but for the most part, I stayed in a singular dorm for a good amount of time I've been in college. So that's why I've had 6 roommates. And one of them I did know. She's my best friend, and I've known her since high school. We went to middle school, high school, and college together. Not on purpose, kind of on accident where high school and middle school were concerned, but in college we did go to school together as well, and we became roommates. She is probably the only roommate that I could fully stand out of all these people. Okay, let's talk about roommate A. So roommate A, very good relationship with her actually. I think aside from my actual friend that I roomed with, she was one of my favorite roommates. She was very cool. We had a lot in common. She was an art major. I was an English major, so we had very, I wouldn't say a close major, but you know, English is books and she was an art major, so we did have kind of a bond over that because people like to, you know, make fun of art majors so much that they make fun of English majors. But one day I had something very microaggressive happen to me. So she had come over, and at that time I had very short hair. I kind of have short hair now. I cut it all off, but at this point I had only been natural for I think 3 or 4 years. My hair was really short. The rest of my relaxed ends had just been chopped off, and I had pretty short hair at the time. I think it was probably it wasn't TWA size, but it was like, you know, it was a little fro. And a lot of times I didn't feel like doing it, and at this point I couldn't put it in one because it was too short, so I would opt to twist my hair. So I was in our living room and I was watching, I think I was watching Netflix or something, and I was like twisting my hair with shea butter, and her and her friend were leaving, I think, to go to our cafeteria, and her friend, and she was like, oh, bye Troy, and I was like, oh, bye roommate A. So roommate A was like, you have to do all of that with your hair? And I was really confused. I didn't really know what she meant by all of that. I'm literally like mid-twist at the top of my head, like, what? I was so confused because white girls, Latinos, Asians, everyone twists their hair to make a certain curl pattern with their hair. Like, I think they call them beach waves when you do the braid outs, and I was so confused. All I was doing is twisting my hair. And I was just like, and I opened my mouth to respond, even though I really didn't know what I was going to respond with. And her friend was just like, yeah, they have to do a lot of stuff with their hair. Like, I have a black roommate. And I was just like, I'm like sitting there, like, in the living room of our dorm, so confused. And she's just like, I have a black roommate, and she has to do so much to her hair, like, to make it nice. And I was just like, what is going on? And so roommate A was like, really? I didn't know. And then the friend was just like, yeah, she has all these things, like, to make her hair look nice and curly. And I was just like, I did not get a word in, and literally my roommate was just like, oh, okay. And she was like, well, continue, we'll see them later. And I was just like, bye. And I was just like, I was sitting there, like, after they left, I was just like, all I'm doing is twisting my hair. And it was so awkward because, like, I don't really understand what the hype is behind asking black women about their hair, or why you needed to know what I was doing, period. We're not friends, we're cool. You know, sometimes we have Disney jam sessions together, but that's as far as our, you know, relationship went. And I was just like, what do you mean by we have to do all that to make our hair nice? I was just like, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna finish twisting my hair and I'm gonna move on. And I did. And I just was, y'all, I was so confused. I was just like, do I say something? I really just didn't want to, because I was just like, listen, I'm gonna be sitting here a lot doing my hair because it's on my head and I fucking can do whatever I want. If it happened again, I probably would have said something, but it didn't happen again. I don't think she ever really commented on my hair again. I don't really remember, though. I don't think she did. I know she commented on the amount of products I had, which is funny because I had like all of 3 hair products that weren't shampoo and conditioner. So I don't know. It was weird, and I, to date, have no idea really. I don't even know what I would say if someone told me that now. Like, I would just be like, I don't know, mind your own fucking business. Okay, moving on. This next thing is to my face, and it's happened to me with multiple roommates' parents. It's kind of funny to me a little bit, to the point where I actually made it a point to emphasize where I'm from. So my school is in a college town. Well, okay, no. Everyone who's from the area would call it a prison town, because all that's in Huntsville is really the school and the prison. And so it's a prison town, college town, whatever. And pretty much everyone is like from Texas. Like, a good majority of them are from Texas. We have people from outside of Texas, but a lot of people at my school tend to be from Texas. And a lot of them are from like little country towns in Texas, like very small, you know, towns where their like graduating class is like 50. But then there's also quite a few people that are from Houston. And when they're from Houston, it's always super interesting to see them, like, their facial expressions change. Because I don't know what people think about me when I approach them. I think they think that I am probably mixed and grew up in a white neighborhood. Neither of which are true. I am black, and I grew up in an all-black neighborhood my whole life. Only a couple of times did I move out of it. And so I had one roommate. She was white, and she was the roommate after my friend who I known since high school. And her parents were setting up her stuff and everything. And I was in the kitchen putting away some of my things. It was moving. And so her dad asked me a few things about me, like what my major was, how old I was, and I told him, and he was like, oh, nice. And he was like, so where are you from exactly? And I was like, oh, I'm from Houston. And he was like, oh, really? We live in Houston. They weren't from Houston, but they lived in Houston. And I was just like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah, what part are you from? I said, the part of Houston I'm from, I guess you can say it because it is on my profile on Instagram. I'm from a place in Houston called 3rd Ward. I grew up there. I lived there my whole life, give or take a couple of years that I lived in DC. And it's, you know, I still live there now. And it's so funny because his face went from to, oh, 3rd Ward. I've heard a lot about 3rd Ward. And I could see his daughter, like, in the background, like, cringing at him. And then his wife looked like she thought oh my God, my poor daughter is going to be murdered. She's going to end up on Dateline about her black roommate killing her. Or maybe they thought I was going to get her into drugs. I don't know what they thought, but a lot of people in Houston have bad ideas of Third Ward, and for that reason, they just like their face fell. Like it just completely fell. And it happened to me again with another white roommate who was not from Houston. She was from a really small town. And her dad had come for the first time. I think she moved into our dorm by herself. No. She had friends. She had friends to move in with her. And when her dad came the week later, I had come out of my room. I had no idea he was there. And my roommate was like, oh, Troy, come meet my dad. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, I had no problem meeting her dad. And her dad's this little, short white man who looked like he's probably seen at most 2 black people in his whole life. And he went from going like this to going like, hi. And I was just like, hi, I'm black. If you didn't know, I guess roommate C didn't tell you. Or D, I think she's roommate D, I don't remember. I forgot what I gave people. Anyway, her dad looked very uncomfortable and he kind of like left pretty quickly, and I was just like, okay, that was awkward. I just went back into my room and I went on about my business. To be honest, people being uncomfortable when they find out I'm black really isn't too shocking to me, like especially in a place where there is a very high quantity of white people. So I was kind of just like, yep, kind of the reaction I was betting on, but it was kind of humorous. I remember my friend coming over and I told her about it and we were just like cracking up because he really looked like insanely scared for his daughter's safety, but whatever. Okay, moving on. So roommate, this is roommate, I don't know. I think this is like my 4th roommate at this point. I'm gonna call her, what's the 4th alphabet? D, huh? I messed this up. A, B, C, D. Yeah, the 4th alphabet is D. So technically, the 2 white girls I had, the first white girl would be C, and the second white girl would actually be E. So this black girl that I had was roommate D. Of course, I wasn't like best friends with the girl. She was fine, and nothing was wrong with her. But this one instance, her friend came over and kind of basically commented on my weight, but they didn't know I was home. So basically, the way all of my roommates and I did things, where we like kind of split the fridge and the freezer down the middle. So like one side of the fridge and freezer was mine, the other side was hers. Typically all the left sides of the fridge and freezer were mine, and the right sides were always my roommates. So she had a friend, this boy, come to the dorm. He came all the time. I've seen him there quite a few times. I don't remember his name. I just called him the boy. And so I was in my room, and a lot of times I didn't know when she was there, and she didn't know when I was there. And it happened to a lot of my roommates. Like, if someone came to knock on our door to talk to one of us, we wouldn't know if the other person were there. We'd have to be like, wait, I don't know if she's here. Let me text her, or let me go see. So a lot of times I didn't know that they were there and didn't know I was there. So she did not know I was here. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I have no idea. But he opened our fridge. I can hear the fridge open because it's a very small dorm. And I don't really think anything of it. I always tell my roommates, if there's something you want, just text me and I'll tell you, like, go ahead and eat it or whatever. Just don't eat the last of something and not tell me, because if you eat the last of it, I would like to go get some more of what I got. So he opened the fridge and he said something along the lines of basically that he wanted to pick up something. And she was like, no, that's my roommate's. And he was like, oh, okay, well, just, it's okay. And she was just like, no, you can't just eat my roommate's food. That's rude. And then he says, and quote, verbatim, he goes, it's okay. She don't need to be eating no more than she already does anyway. And literally, I'm in my room like, no, he didn't. And so I'm just like sitting here in my room like, and I guess maybe she did know I was home because she told him to be quiet. So I'm guessing probably she did know I was home and did not want to be embarrassed. And she was like, shh, stop. She was like, I'm serious. You don't need to eat no more. And basically commenting that I was big already and I don't need to eat. And she started giggling and told him to be quiet. And yeah, it was I never confronted her about it because I literally don't give a fuck. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And I don't know if he ever thought that I heard him, but whenever he would come over after that and he would say something to me, I would just be like, uh-huh, mm-hmm. And he got the message and stopped talking to me. So that was it. It was highly disrespectful and unnecessary. And it's really funny because had they knocked on my door and said, hey, can blank eat some of this, I would have just said yes. Okay, and the last thing I get, and I've gotten this a couple of times, which is really weird because I'm not old, but I've gotten this. The last roommate I had before quarantine hit, she and her friend were in the kitchen, and he basically called me old. Not basically called me old. He did call me old. He asked what my name was, and she told him my name, and then he was like, "How old is she?" And she said 24, and he was like, "Damn, why is she so old?" And she was like, "I know, right? Isn't she old?" And I was just like, I'm like 4 years older than you guys, like just 4. And so I was just in my room kind of like, what? Like, I'm not even old. I'm not old at all. And even if I was, there is no age demographic that you have to be in college for the first part. Okay. This is not high school. You can't age out of college. I literally was sitting in school with 70-year-olds who were trying to get their degree so they can become teachers. You can be any age in college, but I think the point of their comment was that I was living at the dorm. Let me tell y'all something. And if y'all want me to talk more about this, I'll talk more about this in future videos for college. I am not getting on a lease for an apartment when I was barely there. Period. See, the whole thing was that during the school year, I did not have a car, so it wasn't like I could commute back and forth, and I really didn't want to commute back and forth. So for the most part, I lived on campus, and I would go home on the weekends. I could not understand why I would lease an apartment and never be at it. Because if you think about it, I was in school for most of the day, so I wasn't at my dorm. And then in between classes, if I had like a block hour of nothing, I would go to the library. If I wasn't in class, I was at the library. And I would be at the library until the sun went down. Then I would go back to my dorm and sleep. Honestly, other than to sleep and to eat, and sometimes not even to eat because I would eat other places, I would not go to the dorm. And then when my friend would be like, hey, I'm going home, do you want to ride? I would, on Friday in the morning after class, go home to Houston, and I'd be in Houston until Monday morning. So there was really no reason for me to lease an apartment, at least not into my eyes. I was like saving money living at the dorms. And I get it because there are a lot of restrictions living at the dorm. And if you have your own place, there are less restrictions. But for me personally, I just did not feel like there was a reason for me to live off campus when I could just pay this one-time fee and live at the dorm and do whatever I want. To be honest, RAs, at least my RAs, really weren't like checking for us a lot. Actually, I had a lot of RAs tell me that, you know, if they don't see it, they can't get me in trouble. So that's how that was. So don't let people think that your age is like something that like needs to be sad, because like, I mean, if you want to live off campus, live off campus. I just never particularly wanted to live off campus because I didn't have a car, and so where was I gonna go? And I was always home. So like, I was at school basically 4 days a week, and then the next 4 days I was at home. So I just really didn't find a reason to have an apartment. But this person called me old, and I was just like, I'm like 4 years older than you, if that, because I have no idea how. I think he was older than her, and I was going by her age, not his. So I could have been just 3 years older than him, which makes 0 sense. That's all of it. So don't let people tell you that you can't be an age in college. It's literally not that big of a deal. Like, it's college. Everyone's there. Either you're there to get a degree or you're there to waste money. Period. But yeah, that is it. I mean, there's other things that dumbasses have said that I've heard them say, but that was just the list I compiled for today. If you enjoyed this and you want some more college videos like this, please let me know and below. I will be doing polls for all my college series, so if you want to be part of the polls to see what I end up doing, please go follow me on the Bookish Waffler, not the Bookish Waffler, just Bookish Waffler on Instagram. You can also follow me on my other YouTube, which is Inkflare Studio. That is where I do all my shop related stuff. I do studio vlogs, journaling videos, all types of stuff to deal with my business. I'll leave a link below for you to follow. And until next time, guys, peace out.